How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. We got a slightly different video today. I'm not doing any openings, but with the boom that One Piece is going through right now, I wanted to make a video to help people in identifying fake cards. I am in no way an expert on this. I've picked up some knowledge over the year or so that I've been collecting, and I can at least provide what I know, and maybe people in the comments can share additional information that I might have forgotten. I'll try to go in somewhat order of, I guess, ease of just ruling it out. And the first thing is the back. This is a pretty common one. This one is a really poorly done back. In some proxies, they don't attempt to make it, I guess, obvious. But in terms of one that has a similar back, this one is a Japanese, it's a real card, Japanese promo from a tournament. And this is a fake English promo that would be from a tournament. So at first glance, they look somewhat similar. This one's a slightly darker. Where it really comes into play is the shine. If you have any kind of light, shine it on the back, hit it with the angles. There will be glare coming off both, but you can see, even when I hit the light perfectly, you can see the compass very well. And with this, when it hits, it just blinds you. You can't see anything. And that's the case with most, even this one that's obviously fake. This has the same shine. There's another one, same shine. Fake cards have a difficult time producing the exact same back. I'm sure they will get better at it as the cards get more valuable, but that is the number one thing that you can rule it out in a matter of seconds. Next is texture. So on this Kobe card, you can tell this might be difficult because these are fine levels of detail. I'll have to hit it with the light perfectly. The texture on this card is similar throughout the whole card, where you almost have these rays of like sunshine coming from the middle of the card, extending to the outside of the card. That is a fake card. This is a real alt art Kobe leader. The texture is different. The texture in the compass is different. The texture, again, it might be hard to pick up, maybe see it a little bit there, where this map is, it's just kind of a rough texture, whereas here it's just a universal texture on the whole entire card, where the texture does differ on this card. Inside the border, it's kind of more rough, but it's very common. A universal feature of alt art leaders is this texture around the border. So if this texture around the border isn't there on a card you're picking up, it's definitely fake if it doesn't have that. Now, I'm not saying that fakes can't produce that same texture, but analyze different parts of the card, because they might just kind of take the easy way out and just have one universal texture throughout, instead of having differing texture like you see inside the border versus kind of around the border. Let's see, and then one other thing on this card that I want to show you is the stamp. So let me see if I can pick up the stamp. It's going to be really hard to see, I think, but on the bottom left of the cards, on the left side of this nameplate, there is a stamp, a one-piece stamp that a lot of proxies will either not have or they won't do it well. Let me see if this one, so this one has the stamp. This is a real card. And this one has the stamp as well. But if you can tell, it's almost like there's an outline or like a background on the text. It's kind of hard to read the text because it's there's like a matte background around it, whereas on a real card, it has very defined edges, and it is just the letters that are stamped on there, where on these fakes it seems like a larger area that's stamped. And as I'm shining this in the light, another key distinctive feature is the hollow pattern, the foiling pattern. Fake cards tend to be very rainbowy in their foil when it glistens, when you hit the light on it. This one, you get some greens, some blues, but it's nowhere near as rainbowy as a lot of the fake cards will have in their foiling pattern. So the stamp, there's a lot of people that will go online and just say, oh, if it doesn't have the stamp, then it's fake. Now that's not necessarily true, because they didn't add the stamp until OPO6. So any card, any foiled card like alt art like this would not have a stamp if it's OPO5 and earlier, which makes the mangazoro, the OG, so difficult to differentiate between the PRB01 mangazoro, because they both have stamps. The easy way to differentiate the other ones is if it has a stamp, then it's the PRB01 manga. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. If it doesn't have a stamp, then it is one of the OG mangas. Next, let's look at the star, and we can go back to the Kobe. So the star you're going to see, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to. So fakes can include the star. You want to see the star on any alt art leaders, alt art SRs, alt art SECs. Now again, similar to the stamp, they didn't start the star until OPO4. So OPO1 through OPO3, even on the alt arts, does not have this star in the bottom right corner. And that's a pretty easy thing to do, but there are some that don't do it that well. Like this one is gold, and there can be gold stars, and I don't think this is going to pick up. I'll try to maybe zoom in while I edit to see if that helps to pick it up even more. But if you even look at the letters underneath the star, it's just not well executed. It's the very fine details. And when we get into text, you'll kind of get what I'm talking about in terms of just defined borders, crisp letters, where some of the proxies don't do it that well. And let's just go into text now. This one might be a little bit difficult to see because we have the gold foiling there. And I know a lot of this stuff, if you haven't seen many cards or you're just kind of getting into it, it's going to be really difficult for you to identify the difference until you see a lot of cards. But this text, it's just slightly muted. It's not blurry, but it's not crisp. It's not sharp as, let's see this Kobe again. The text is just very sharp, even on, see if I can get this in focus. This side is a very common area that people will identify fakes, especially with the word Bandai, where the A and the I can be somewhat spaced from the D and can make it look weird. Now let me see if I have, let's go back to this one. This one's kind of poorly done. Again, I'm not sure if it's gonna pick it up. But that's one that's a little bit more difficult to pick up on if you haven't looked at a lot of cards, because this is a fake, and that looks pretty good to me. So it's not always going to be the case where you can just look at this stuff and be able to identify it straight away, because that looks pretty good. But when you see one that, if you look at it and you see a fake, you'll come across some that it's like, oh wow, they really didn't pay attention to that detail. And next would be the cardstock. I don't recommend you like really bending your cards very much, but even if you give it a slight wiggle, you might be able to tell the difference in the cardstock. I also don't recommend going to a card show and pulling cards out of people's sleeves and starting to wiggle, because they're probably not going to be too fond of that. But if you do buy a card and you have it in your possession and you're like, I don't know if this is real or not, take one that you know is real, just give it a slight wiggle, feel the cardstock and feel the other one, because a lot of fakes will use a thinner cardstock that isn't the same. Let's look at a couple mangas, because this is probably the most likely to be faked. Now I'll just go out and say that this Nami is fake, but there still is texture on the manga panels. You have the star down there, which it should. You have the stamp, which looks pretty good. Let's see if I can get it in focus. It's pretty good, but there's still a slight outline around the letters. And also with the text over here, there's just a lot of white border. It doesn't feel as crisp. Now this boa is real. And let's look at, see this stamp? See how crisp and clean and perfect that stamp is compared to the other one that had more of an outline? See if I can get these words. Hopefully it shows up in the distinction between how crisp this text is on the outside. Because on these real ones, the text is crisp. And if you don't have a real one in your hand, it's hard to compare it to anything whenever you're looking at a card. But I recommend just trying to look at as many as you can so that you can identify them. Another small detail, I don't even think the camera is going to pick it up, but when you have it in person, these matte, like this purplish color where the special is imprinted on, it's slightly rough. It isn't completely smooth and a matte finish. Similarly on this gold one, it has slightly rough, I wouldn't say it's texture, but it's just not cleanly done. Whereas on this real one, it's very shiny, it's a very matte finish. And matte maybe is not the best descriptor. It's very glossy. There's no texture to it at all. It's completely just a flat color. All right, let me put this real manga away before I mess it up. In terms of cards, that is a rough guideline as to what to look out for. There's also something to consider with boxes, where they just started something new. So this is a box of OP10. Let me zoom out a little bit. OP10 shrink wrap is tight. There's no words on it. It's just plain old shrink wrap. And OP12, they started doing this, where they added the Bandai card games, and they've done that for each set since OP12. So OP12, PRBO2, and OP13. I assume they will continue to do that. One thing to consider is the quality of the shrink wrap. So this is a legitimate box. I don't know how easy it would be to counterfeit those words on there. I'm sure as sets get more expensive and people find the need and the desire to try to take advantage of people, I'm sure they can pull it off. But some of these real boxes can even be pretty rough in terms of the quality of the shrink wrap. So don't think that if it's a bad quality shrink wrap, that it's just automatically a fake. One more thing with the text on here, it's only on the, let me zoom out a little bit further. It's only on the front, and sometimes it will come onto the side. Kind of hard to see, but there's nothing on the bottom. That one kind of came onto the side here, over there. Nothing on that side. A little bit there. So that might be another indication. I'll have to look at all my boxes to see if that's the case, but it seems like it's more of a top partial side text on this shrink wrap, and I haven't seen any that have text on the bottom. So that's a big thing to look out for if you're buying boxes. All right, that's all I have for today. If I think of anything else, I'll put it down in the description. Please, if you know of anything else in the cards that you've seen, again, I'm not super experienced with this stuff, just what I've noticed and what I've picked up other people saying. If you know of anything else, please put it down in the comments to help us all out and avoid people getting scammed. I appreciate everyone for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next one.